Hey, what's up, everybody? William Warfield here with you. And man, I got to be honest with you. I'm excited about this show here tonight because we got the one and only, the legendary Gary Ball going to be joining us here in just a second. Do want to let you guys know that we are here in the BGO studio. This show presented by Mingua Beef Jerky, the official game day snack of Prep Spin. And without further ado, matter of fact, you see all this Mingua Beef Jerky I got around here. But without further ado, let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Gary Ball. Gary, how's it going, man?
Doing great, King of Stream. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Man, we got crazy times right now, Gary.
They sure are. For high sports, we got nothing going on right. I mean, of course, the KHSA they canceled the 16 girls and boys. The girls had only played one day and then had the one game on the second day. The boys tournament completely wiped out. All the spring sports that I was talking to Bridget tonight before dinner, and I said William's out there doing softball and baseball. He'd be busy this time of year, but right now we're trying to find things to do here in this crazy world we live in right now.
Yeah, I was all set up. I was getting ready to do, obviously we got high school baseball going on, but then I had the Lexington Legends, that we would have already installed all of our equipment there at the stadium and had that ready. And I mean, I would have, you're right, I would have been busy the last couple of weeks getting all that ready, but and then, just finishing up the Sweet 16s, which would have ended Sunday.
Yeah.
But
the Sweet 16, that's hard to believe, but that the KHSA would have to cancel those. But then again, this coronavirus is hard to believe too. It's just I'm just trying to wrap my head around all this. What's going on? We've never had anything like this in my lifetime, William, and in your lifetime. We had 9/11 comes closest to it when they hit the World Trade Centers. But this is something. It's an invisible. It's like we're at war with an invisible, the coronavirus. It's invisible. It can kill anybody. It has no, unbiased as far as counties, how rich you are, how poor you are, whatever. It's one of the worst, things that's ever hit this country and the whole world when you look at it.
it is, and I just saw, like, just an hour ago, I saw that Governor Beshear said that unless you're traveling outside of the state for business, that you're not really you shouldn't be doing that. He signed an order that says you can't do that unless it's for business, and if you do and you come back, then you have to be quarantined for 14 days.
Yeah, and Andy at 5 has been great. I mean, every 5 o'clock, I take a walk every day, William, around the neighborhood just to get out in the open spaces and the open air, and just it's been beautiful doing that. But Andy at 5, got to be back by 5 to see Andy at 5 because he gives you a complete breakdown on the state and how many people have the coronavirus and how many people are you should do and don't be a hypochondriac. If you're not sick, don't go to the doctor, but if you've got any symptoms, and call your doctor. So he's been very good throughout this, to say the least.
Yeah. You and I, we just had wrapped up basketball season, the regular season. We went ahead and did the district tournament, and then we finished out the regional tournament. Looking back on basketball season, Gary, I don't know if it's still fresh in your mind. I'm sure it is because I'm sure you're like me, man. We wish we had our sports back right now. And just looking back, what are some of the best moments that you remember from the basketball season?
I go back probably to the Lexington Catholic tournament over at Catholic, the finals of that Bill North Hopkins game. What a game that was. And I think it was Peyton Pelfrey, wasn't it Pelfrey from Catholic that stuck the shot back at the buzzer in overtime, won that game. And then I even go back further than that in football, that Lexington Catholic Covcath game up at Park Hills. We drove up to Park Hills, Kentucky, Northern Kentucky, my old stomping ground. What a football game that was. I mean, that was one of the classics that me and Coach Meehan did over the years, and went down to the wire. And it comes down to if a receiver for Lexington Catholic catches that ball, then it's Lexington Catholic's game. But it went the other way. Covcath got the 2-point conversion. They won the game by 1 point. So, but in basketball, the regional final, I mean, how can you not? Scott County. Who would have thought that Scott County would win the 11th region? All season long, it was Lexington Catholic's to lose. Okay, came down to the championship game, Lexington Catholic and Scott County and Tim Glenn's ball club. Man, they responded to that. I mean, everybody on their team stepped up in that game. What a classic that was for the regional final. You're going to have Coach Glenn on the show later on this week, so he'll be a good guest.
Yeah, Coach Glenn will be joining us later on this week, as you mentioned, and that should be a good show as well. And we'll definitely talk to him about playing the perfect game against Lexington Catholic, because that's exactly what they did.
They did. Had the perfect game, and we really thank all the folks at Tage Creek. They managed the 43rd district very well. We were there, had a primo spot up there right at midcourt, and you love that spot up there. I loved it. And we want to thank, of course, during the regional tournament, Coach Tony Wise. He got beat out again, so he was able to join us for the broadcast. But he does a great job, and we enjoyed the 11th region tournament. I enjoyed this basketball season with you, William. It was probably, of all the 30-plus years I've done high school basketball, this is one of my favorite. It really was. This was my favorite years.
Yeah, and don't want to forget Mama Muntz, who helped us out over there as well.
Yeah, she joined us on the girls' tournament. You're right, Julie Muntz. She teaches over there at Frederick Douglass High School there. Well, she doesn't right now. She's holding down the fort with what is it, that NTI, non-traditional instruction. But
yeah.
These teachers, what they're going through right now, William, that's got to be tough. What teachers are going through. So it's just a crazy, crazy time we're living in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking back on just this, sports year that we had, and there was a lot of classic moments, from all sports that we covered throughout the season. It is almost unreal, when you go back and think about it. Think about all those great football games that we had. I know you didn't join us because you were on a cruise at the time.
Italy.
Yeah, you were in Italy. Yeah. You went before all that broke out over there, but
look at all that country now. Man, it's a mess over there.
Yeah, so looking back, that Somerset LCA game, I think we played the replay of that in the regular season.
Yeah.
Now, you got to join us for the playoff football game of that one, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned the Cov Cath Lex Cath game. But there were some nail biters throughout the season, and then there were some big time performances too. Frederick Douglass football had a great season. Coach McPeak, he'll be on tomorrow night with us.
Yeah, Coach McPeak had one of the most electrifying plays of the season. That one hitch by Dane Key that made Sports Center top 10. You put that out, and I looked at you as soon as that happened. I said, "Wait, that's the Sports 10." Sure enough, I think it was number 6, and I don't know what the top 5 were, but I don't know how much it could have been the Dane Keys one-handed catch. But Frederick Douglasson got to the state championship, played Covington Catholic in the state chip, and a young man by the name of Michael Mayer just would not be denied in that game. He just was a one-man wrecking crew.
Yeah, the Notre Dame commit there.
Yeah.
I saw earlier today that the NCAA said that spring sport athletes are going to get an extra year of eligibility, but the winter sport athletes, they didn't get the same treatment.
Yeah, and that's a tough call by the NCAA on those the winter sports. And what you're seeing now is a lot of these guys that play winter sports, basketball, so forth, did get to play in the NCAA tournament. You've already seen it at the University of Kentucky. Juzang's already, the main reason I think he went back is because he's from California, and he realized that in these type of times when you got this quarantine and you got to be home, he wants to be close to home. You can't blame the kid for that.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so he went back to California. So, and I think you're going to see a lot of kids start thinking about their family that are away from home like that in these situations. But you're right, spring sport guys got their year of eligibility back if they want to use it, William. If they want to, and the girls did too.
Yeah, and for the Kentucky guys, I think Cal just announced that there was 5 guys going to the NBA draft.
Yeah, he said 5 are going to go to the NBA, and I think 1 or 2 of those need to come back, because they're not ready for the NBA. EJ Montgomery comes back; he could really use another year of college experience. And I think if Quigley comes, even though he's the SEC, I think his stock would be better next year in the NBA draft. And what's going to happen with all that, William? The NBA and canceling their season,
Yeah. put out a tweet earlier today. I was like, Gary Ball's in there, the NBA draft. Did you get a chance to see that?
Yeah, I did see that. You mean as a shooter, right? You don't mean as a defender or anything else. But the NBA was a dream of mine, but that was a long, long time ago. I realized not too many 5'11", white guys go to the NBA. So too short and didn't have the hops. You know what I'm saying?
You did play for Boone County though, right?
Yes, I played high school ball at Boone County. I was captain of the team. I led the team in total assist and I was co-captain. So it was a great year. Our senior year, my junior year, we were actually better than but my senior year we actually went further in the tournament. We got beat out in the regional semifinals by Holy Cross by 1 point.
So how did the whole broadcasting thing happen for you? What made you decide to get into sports broadcasting, and just give us some history about how you got started in all of it.
Well, when I was in high school at Boone County, the high school basketball coach Jim Connor, who also was the baseball coach, and my senior year I didn't want to play baseball because I was kind of burnt out after basketball because they overlap. Basketball's over in March, baseball starts in March, and so he said, "Well, why don't you announce the games?" And I said, "Announce the games? What?" He said, "Yeah, batting in the bottom of the third inning for Boone County, Mike Williams." So I said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "Well, and we'll pay you." So I said, "Okay, yeah, you pay me. All right, that's good." So I started announcing the games. Then after I graduated, I went to the University of Kentucky, and while I was at Kentucky, that's where I met Matt Calvert, a good friend of mine who passed away. The Woodford County Yellow Jackets for 41 years, went in the Hall of Fame in December, and I met him there. And also, Mac and I decided we wanted to work at the UK campus radio station WBKY, and we started there. And then the internship there led to us doing University of Kentucky games. Like Lefford would literally be in the booth right next to us when we did UK games, football and basketball. Dick Gabriel was a senior when I was a freshman, so he was doing it. So we waited our time, and then by the time I was a sophomore, junior, I got to announce the UK games. And then when I graduated from there, I went back to Erlanger, Kentucky, up in northern Kentucky, and worked at WHKK. And I was the scoreboard producer, and I was like Dale McMillan and Hardy Tribble would do the games, play-by-play. They're legendary announcers up there in northern Kentucky before I came along. And Dale would say, "Let's go back to Gary Ball at the station. He'll give us scores on Bellevue and Dayton and all the other northern Kentucky games." So they come back to me, and I'd say, "Thank you, Dale. Back here, well, at halftime, Highlands leads leads Scott 17-3 at halftime, stuff like that." And then when I went back to them, I'd say, "Listen," and they'd come back to me at the final of their game, and I'd give all the scores. So I was kind of a tester for this new Kentucky scoreboard show. I wish Donnie Atkins do it now, and I think they're in their 18th season of doing that show.
Yeah.
But I was kind of a tester for them up in northern Kentucky back in the 1980s. So it was a lot.
So you kind of played the Keith Elkins role, I guess, where at halftime
Yeah.
they go into them for scores and that kind of thing. And
Yeah. And then Dale asked me in 86 or 85 or 86, so I'm really giving away my age here, but I was a young kid back then. I was a teenager. No, I'm just kidding. But he asked me to do play-by-play of Cincinnati games, Cincinnati high school games. So I started doing the GCL, which is a Greater Catholic League. It was Cincinnati Moeller, Cincinnati X, Purcell Marion, Roger Bacon, McNicholas, and all those schools, and I did play-by-play of that. And during football in Elder, and that's where I met Anthony Moon, the All-Pro with the Bengals, and I asked him to do the color with me on Friday nights because he didn't have anything else to do on Friday nights because they played on Sundays. They didn't travel out till Saturdays when they played the NFL. So he did the color commentary with me, and I really enjoyed working with him. He was just a great guy to work with, like you are, William, here with Prep Spin, and Mike Meehan is, Coach Meehan is a delight on the radio now. But I'm just going back, to the 1980s and 90s, and that's where I started. And then I came back to Lexington about 1998, 99, because I wanted to be closer to my mother. She was in Sarah Christian Village. She was in a nursing home, and she was a pretty bad diabetic and had a lot of health issues, and she has since passed. But that's what and then when I came back here, I started doing radio at a station if you wonder what my affections are to Lexington Catholic, and MJR 1380 allowed me to do Lexington Catholic football and basketball games, and that evolved into WLAP work, where I did a school board show, did high school games, then WVLK. I did games there for 12 years, and then I started working with you, about 5-6 years ago now on Prep Spin. So
Yeah.
kind of the evolution of it.
Yeah, that's one thing that everybody likes. Every time I hear somebody when I'm out in public and they ask me about Gary Ball, they're like, Gary Ball's a guy that's always evolved. He went from doing public address announcing to doing play-by-play or giving score updates to doing play-by-play to doing TV to doing online streaming. You're the evolution of what a sports broadcaster is.
Yeah, you have to do that, William. You have to evolve. I mean, look how you've evolved over the years. I mean, gosh, same way. But I happen to know a gentleman named Wayne Martin, and Wayne and Mike Canterac ran WKYT. This was about 2002 or 3, and Lewis Stout said, Gary, I told Lewis after the scoreboard show one night, we walked out, it was like midnight, it was snowing. I said, Lewis, who in the world's listening to us at midnight here? And it's snowing out here. It's so cold I can barely get my car door open. And Lewis said, yeah, but remember in Western Kentucky, it's only 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right.
That led to that discussion of the scoreboard show going statewide led to a discussion with Wayne Martin and WKYT about doing the Scholastic Ball Report. And that's how that show evolved. We started doing that show. And, I just keep it the same, William. I don't change a lot on it. It's been the same ever since we started the show, as far as having, scholastic scholar athletes in all sports, boys and girls, girls sports. Then we have a team of the week. We have a component for the athlete of the week now, or the feature of the week, and that show's evolved too. But I think in broadcasting, I think we've had to evolve, or we're going to be lost in the shuffle, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, if you don't stay ahead of the curve like you've done, like I feel like I've done,
Yep,
you're right, man. It does kind of get lost in the shuffle. A lot of folks are turning to online news now as opposed to picking up the newspaper. A lot of folks are wanting to get their news now, especially in the recruiting world. And I really think the recruiting stuff has had a major impact on the sports newspapers, because if you're in a small town, it's once a week that you get a paper that comes out. If you're in a larger town like Lexington or Louisville, well, it's every day. But people want to get that as soon as it breaks. As soon as that news breaks. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, especially in Kentucky, because everybody wants to know about recruiting right now. You've got this COVID-19 crisis going on in the state, and everybody's still wondering what's going on with the University of Kentucky, who's going to the NBA, who's going pro, and all. So, but in high, it's all just kind of shut down right now as far as high school sports. All of that Bluegrass Preps, right? The program that started up in Northern Kentucky, Bluegrass. All they're talking about now is, will there be a high school football season this year?
Yeah.
And a lot of there's different theories on that. And of course, Kirk Herbstreit didn't help the situation when he chimed in and said he doesn't see how there can be a college football season this year. So I don't know about what your thoughts are on that, but I think if we get through this like China did, their progression was March. They were starting to come out of it a little bit and so forth. And if that progression holds, it'll be May or June. And I hope we can get rid of this thing or find a antidote or something for this coronavirus, so we can have some good sports again.
Yeah, I totally miss it, man. I feel like we should be out on a baseball field somewhere right now.
Yeah, it would be a beautiful, beautiful night for baseball too. It was about 65 degrees and sunny today. A little windy, but that's perfect for baseball. And the thing is, William, we're blessed around Lexington with great baseball and great softball with the girls. We're blessed with great basketball. The 11th region doesn't get any better than the 11th region, and also with the football. I mean, I covered Northern Kentucky for a number of years, for 15, 20 years, and I did a lot of state champions in football up there. But I tell you, there's no area for all sports right like we got right here in Central Kentucky. This is it. This is it.
Yeah, it's definitely a hotbed for basketball, for baseball. Definitely, baseball's always good here. I saw the rankings come out. Well, somebody put some rankings out today that said if the season was to start, they had I believe Lafayette was 9, Lexington Catholic was 8, Tates Creek was 7 in that top 10 right there. So I mean, just
Yeah.
thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, look at Tate's Creeks. Look at the athletic year they've had. They were in the district championship of every boys and girls. That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Remember, we asked. Remember John Dixon, the ADO, the athletic director over there. We said you have to be the athletic director of the year, and sure enough, he was named athletic director of the year with all those victories. I mean, they won the state championship in baseball. They won it in track with Jonathan Hawks, my good friend Jay Hawk. They
yeah.
won the track state championship on the girls' side. That's been a phenomenal run there for Tage Creek, and you're right, they were going to have a really good baseball team this year too.
Yeah. Henry Clay treated us really well throughout the whole year too, and I want to give a shout out to those guys, the athletic directors over there at Henry Clay, because every time we went over there, man, it was like we were like at home. You know what I mean?
It was like at home, and a lot of that goes back to the coach Brown, the basketball coach there. He's a phenomenal human being. He's just a great guy, and he gets it when it comes to working with the media. And I got to say, I voted for Quez for my Mr. Basketball, and I think you did too.
Yes, sir.
Let's hope that the political game isn't played there, and I think the best player was Marquez Wark, but he wasn't named Gatorade Player. The kid from John Harden, Alex Matthews, won it, and Marquez averaged more points, more assists. I don't know about the rebounding, but I think I think his body of work speaks for itself. Even Steve Chandler, Mr. Basketball in 84, 85 at Henry Clay, he
Mm-hmm.
said Marquez Wark is the best scorer of the basketball that he's ever been around in high school. So that says it right there,
Yeah.
how good that kid was.
So they already gave the award out, considering that they had to push it back, or was it?
Well, they haven't given Mr. Basketball out yet. The Lions Foundation keeps postponing that. That was going to be in April at the gate, and that's been pushed back now. They gave out the Gatorade Player of the Year. I don't know how that
Okay.
happened either, but Maddie Shear won it from Ryle, and she also was McDonald's All-American. And then the John Harden kid, Alex Matthews, won the Gatorade Player of the Year in Kentucky.
I wonder how often those two match up. The Gatorade Player of the Year / Mr. Basketball. I wonder how.
They it matched a bit quite a few times. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're Gatorade Player of the Year, you usually get Mister. I mean, you don't always get it, but it's probably, if I gave a percentage wise, I would say maybe 70% of the time the Gatorade Player of the Year gets Mister Basketball.
Yeah, I saw the Matthews kid play over in Owensboro at the 2A
He's
Classic.
good.
He is good.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. He's really good. And probably if he wins the Mr. Basketball over Marquez, the only component or the phase of his game I'd say might be a little better is his rebounding. He's about 11 or 12 rebounds a game, whereas Quez was about 5, maybe 6 rebounds, but he averaged 25, 24. I think Ben Johnson led the region in scoring. I think Marquez was just under him.
Yeah. Tanner Walton had a really good year over there at LCA this year.
He is a phenomenal sophomore, just a sophomore.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he can handle himself around the basket and twist his body and draw fouls and make shots around the basket, and his outside shot is spectacular. That kid, I mean, he was up there with Ben most of the year in scoring, kind of tailed off a little bit at the end. I think Ben averaged 26. He averaged about 22, 23. But I tell you what, Tanner's going to be a guy to hear from for a couple more years, and he'll be a Mr. Basketball candidate in 22 probably.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right on that. LCA keeps continuing to find stars. When you think about Kyle Rowe, Carter Hendrickson the year before. Well, I mean they were a tandem too when Kyle was a junior and Carter was a senior. But those two actually played a college game against each other here recently. North Florida Coast, I guess is what it is.
Yeah.
Ended up playing at Liberty.
Florida Gulf. Yes, Florida Gulf Coast, I believe.
North
and
Florida.
Liberty?
Yeah, it's North Florida and taking on
Okay,
Liberty. Yeah, that's where Carter's playing as North
Carter's
Florida.
free. For one thing, he's 6'7".
Yeah,
Another thing, he can shoot.
he can
Another
shoot
thing,
the
he can
three.
jump. Yeah, and that kid's a player. I knew that when he was at Lexington Christian, he was going to be a fine college player. And Cal Rode is just he's a man among the his college coach there at Liberty. Made the best comment about Cal. He said, if Cal through 4 years here, if Cal Rode plays all 4 years here at this university, he'll be one of the best players ever walked through this university.
Yeah,
That's a big, bold statement by the coach there.
I saw Hairston, the kid that played baseball at Tate's Creek. I saw that he had a highlight film that the Mudcats had just put out. Mudcats out of North Carolina, which is the High A affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers. He looks
Yeah.
like he's going to be the next big thing coming out of the
Oh
Lexington
yeah.
area to make the show.
We knew that. You and I saw that up close and personal, didn't we? The
Yeah,
way that kid can handle himself at shortstop and make some of those plays, falling down, throwing the ball right on the money. He's a special player, and I tell you what, I would not be surprised if he's another one of those Lexington kids that we see ending up in the major leagues.
yes, sir. So you and I, we get to work on state football together. You've been calling that for many years, long before I even was part of it. But football seems to be. I mean, you're really good at basketball. Don't get me wrong, but football seems to be your wheelhouse.
William, I think that's true, and I've had this discussion with a lot of people, and I think football is just something that maybe it's more my speed, so to speak. Because you've got time to talk there with the and then your color guy can make commentary about you always got time to go back to the huddle, et cetera, et cetera. I think football is just really times up well with Gary Ball does as an announcer. I think football is it's a timing thing in everything we do. It's all
Hmm.
about timing. It's basketball, how quick it moves, and I think in football, I think the game just kind of it kind of gone into my wheelhouse, so to speak.
Yeah, every time you come to a game, you always have those two big sheets out that you've already got everybody by position laid out. You got the depth chart. You've got game notes. You and Coach Meehan. I mean, you guys really prepare for those games.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's high school, I think you have to. I learned that from Kaywood Leffert. I mean, I know he's gone now, but the legend at Kentucky, he taught me a long time ago. He said you can never be prepared enough for a game. I not only want to have the starters, William. I want to have their backups
Yeah.
on those charts too. Who their backups are, what their stats are, if it's pertinent to the game. And I can tell you that Sean Alexander, his senior year at Boone County in 1994, rushed for 3,300 yards and scored 53 touchdowns rushing. That's still an individual state record, and was Mr. Football. And that was a kid that I covered up at Boone County. He played at my alma mater, and I got to cover his games at Boone County. And those are some of the players. I mean, I've covered so many good players over the years, and I think football. I've told you this. I've told Coach Meehan this, Mike Meehan, if he's watching tonight, he's going to get a chuckle out of this. But I think I said basketball is king in the state, but football is really the state sport.
Yeah, it certainly brings in probably the most money, I would imagine. When you talk about, well, I mean, not talking about the Sweet 16. I don't want to take anything away from that. I'm talking about
Yeah,
when you're talking about games and everybody showing up, because you're getting a lot of those games. You have 3,000, 4,000, or sometimes even more that show up to some of those games.
you're right. And basketball, the attendance has dropped off a little bit. The last several years, we've seen that on our prep spin travels. We all these games, all these tournaments, and just don't have the. I mean, for the regional and the district tournaments, you have great crowds. Our crowd for that district final was, I mean, that was Tate's Creek at Tate's Creek against Lexington Catholic. That
Yeah,
place was sold out. I don't think the fire marshal. I think he was trying to get a shoehorn to get the people in there. So that was, and then the 11th region at Eastern. Those were well attended. So, but I think attendance has dropped off a little bit the last several years for high school basketball. I really do.
I've seen some, some big time games where, you talk about the fire marshal having to shut those things down sometimes. Well, I mean, that's just, us speaking, is, hey, this,
Yeah,
if you get anybody else in here, fire marshal's going to shut it down. Well, that's obviously not the case, but, it's packed in there at sometimes. But
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
when you talk about big rivalry games, what's some of the big rivalry games that you can remember that or that every year, let's just say every year, that particular game is going to be a sellout crowd.
Well, I mean, if you go back to my Northern Kentucky days, obviously Highlands and Covington Catholic, they have a big rivalry up there in all sports: football, basketball, baseball. It doesn't matter. They could be playing tiddlywinks, and they're going to have a big crowd for it. Because those are just, I mean, Highlands is they've got that tradition. It's dropped off the last few years in football, but year in and year out, I think Trinity still has more state titles than Highlands. But there for a while, they were battling it out for who had the most state titles. Uh, so that's one of, but in Lexington, the East-West game always is well attended and a big crowd. When you got East and West Jessamine,
Yeah.
I've done that game with you a couple of times, and that's always a packed house. Uh, and then to maybe Lexington, some of the best crowds we see in high school football have been over at Douglas. They've been good, really good crowds for like Scott County. Those games well attended, big crowds. Lexington Catholic, Douglas is becoming a rivalry. So there's just a lot. There's just too many games to remember, really. I mean, a lot of great games.
Yeah, we did a Lafayette Douglas game one time, and it was a kind of a huge crowd over there. That was when Walker was playing. I believe it was the first year Douglas was open as well. But that was a heck of a crowd there. I look back on some of the footage, and then you had mentioned the East West Jessamine games. That's always a crosstown
Packed
rivalry
house.
battle. Yeah, LCA Lexington Catholic's always good.
Packed house.
Yeah,
Always a packed house for those games, and it's fun doing high school sports because I still think there's something about having that skull across your chest. It means a lot. Whether it's Scott County, Boone County, Lexington Catholic, whatever, you love having that across your chest, and when you put that jersey on, it means a lot to you. And I still think high school sports is the purest sport going right now
hmm
because you've got all this money in college sports and in the NFL and all that and the high school, people are playing because they want to represent the school, and it's not about money or anything like that. So I still think high schools. That's why I do high school sports. I think it's the purest form of sport going today.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't think
that
it's any.
that and the fact that I think you and I are kind of on the same page. I know we're on the same page. That we truly enjoy showcasing these student athletes, getting them the recognition that they deserve, but also providing a platform for them that gets them noticed at the next level.
I agree with you. I mean, I'd just go back to that Frederick Douglass game that we did with Scott County when Dane that one-handed catch. Right there, we're highlighting that we're calling that doing that game like any college game would look or sound on prep spin, and then there's a kid makes ESPN Sports Center top 10. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that kid was phenomenal. And then we've done that for other kids too. We did that for the John Martin Sims kid and those
Yeah.
kids at Lexington Catholic. Couple when you had all those cameras on every angle over there, and that tip drill made Sports Center top 10. So I mean, that's why we do this. We hope we get those kind of things. We try to get the Lexington Catholic Catholic game televised. We said, hey, it's on Prep Spin.
Yeah.
Put it on your TV station, whatever. And we tried and tried, and look how that game turned out. There would have been a ton of people watching that game if one of these TVs had televised that.
Yeah, and you talking about a sold out crowd for that one. Catholic traveled to
Yeah,
go to that one, and
yeah,
Cov Cath, man, they packed the house. That was a big time
it was
game.
packed. What a game! What a game! I can't get over that game. Just I had goosebumps when I left that field. I mean, that was just such a tremendous high school game, and went down to the wire, down the last play.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of those, last play of the game wins. This past year, I mentioned LCA Somerset game. I mentioned the Cov Cath Lex Cath game. Seems like Lexington
Mhm.
Catholic had another one, but I forget who it was against. That
Was
was
it Lexington Christian?
yeah, that was a really good game. Yeah, you're right. That was a good game. Um, but yeah, I mean, did you think, when we first covered the Frederick Douglass Broncos game when they played Trinity in that scrimmage, because we actually broadcast that scrimmage. You remember that?
Right.
Did
Yes, I
did
do.
did you just kind of like, think, man, they're in trouble? Trinity laid the
About
whooping on them.
I know Trinity. There was a smackdown, but you know what? I think the Douglas coaches took that film and they looked at that game and they realized what they need to work on, and then they went on and had an undefeated season going into the Covington Catholic State Championship game. So
Yeah,
what a job by the Frederick Douglass coaching staff, and we love Gary McPeak. I know he retired, and Brian Landis and Nathan McPeak. Brian went on to a college job, and what a job he did there. But that was a tremendous game. I mean, I really enjoyed that one. I mean, the Trinity scrimmage to me was no big deal if they whipped up on Douglas because they were 6A. Douglas was 5A. I don't know
right.
when 6A can beat Douglas like this, and obviously there wasn't anybody that could in 6A and 5A.
Yeah. No, they were good until they got to that Covington Catholic game there at the end, and that was a good game too. I mean, it wasn't, a lopsided affair by any means. You played there
Right.
at Kroger Field and, you know, played in front of a nice crowd. That was a nice big crowd there for those games, for all those games.
Yeah, it broke. I think it broke records. They said they had record crowds. So they've gotten KHSA's gotten very fortunate on the weather the
Hmm.
past few years at Kroger, and they've gotten fortunate on the matchups. They've been really good matchups. So there's 6 classes in football now, so they've had some good crowds. But yeah, that game that could have gone either way. But the difference in that game was number 87 of Covington Catholic, Michael Mayer. He
Yeah.
decided he's going to go out as a champion. He's not going to be a runner-up, and unfortunately, and even though Douglas had a lot of Division I players, 5 or 6, that was enough to stop that guy because he was on a mission that night.
What are some of the things that you're looking forward to? I know you've been hinting around a lot about retirement, but we're not going to let you grab that rocking chair anytime soon. I don't think. But
That's right.
what are some of the
Well,
things?
I'm hitting around. I'm getting up there, so I'm going to have to be retiring pretty soon. So I'd like to do my Scholar report 2 or 3 more years. So that's how many more years? I'd probably give you more than that, William. Give you, at least 4 or 5 years.
You
Will
know,
you take it?
man, I tell you, as long as you're doing it, I'm doing it, man. So
Yeah. Well,
we've talked
you know,
about
it,
that.
it yeah, we really genuinely like each other and what
Yeah.
each other's done. I mean, from this show how you helped me get on. So I know about your computer prowess, and you know about my non-technical prowess. So I have to root for. I come in. Here's the thing I like. Coach me and I really like this. We can come in, but we can be prepared. It's a high school game. We want to prepare just like a college game or NFL game. I covered the Bengals for years, so I've covered the NFL. But the thing about high school, we want to come in prepared because we know how good you're going to make it look. We know how you're going to have replays, and we know certain big games you're going to have all these camera angles, and that's why when we come in there, we know William Warfield's going to have his A game. We better have our A game, and I think Coach Mean and I generally have our A game on football pretty much every Friday night.
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. I try to put my feet in your shoes there during that, that Somerset game. I was like, Coach me, and I don't see how Gary does this. I mean, I get out there and I'll broadcast, soccer or baseball and sometimes
Yeah,
basketball, but man, you take it to another level for that football, man. And I just don't see how you do it. There's so many players out there on the field. I mean, you got 22 players out there on the field. You've got coaches that you're talking about. You've got, all these different plays that you're recognizing. And, Coach Meehan given the insight that he does. Now, I know he was a former coach and a great one at that, but,
yeah.
and you talking about a dynamic duo, you two guys. Um,
Well, I'm the same. I'm the same with you, William. I'll do it as long as you do it, and I'll do it as long as Coach Meehan does it. Now, Coach Meehan had a tough 2019.
yeah.
Last year was a really rough year for Coach. We had some rough times with Coach, but there was a playoff game we were doing. And I want to get set to sort of say this on this show and set this straight. when you weren't there, you went to your BD Global in November. It was a playoff game, and this certain school wanted us to go on top of the box, and it wasn't because. But I told him, no, I can't. My man just had surgery on his foot, and he can't go up steps. And so I just hope they realize that we were doing that. Just that wasn't selfish reasons. That was medical reasons that we had to do that. And they probably wouldn't have told us to go on top of their box had the King of Stream been there, because they kind of admitted that late. They kind of admitted that later. Wasn't there a Prince of Stream? And I said, what do you mean? You got a King of Stream. You should have a Prince to do these games. I said, oh, when William's gone, we're SOL. So anyway, we were doing a webcast, so it didn't matter. But I just wanted to set that straight. That we weren't trying to be a prima donna. We were just realizing we could not go up. Coach Meehan could not go up those steps with his foot. That's all. That's the only point we were trying to make. It all worked out.
Yeah, he stepped on something and kind of got a little infected. From what I remember him saying, he
impaled his foot.
Ooh, yeah,
and he had surgery on it. I won't tell you what he impaled it with but anyway, he impaled his foot, had surgery, and yeah, Coach had a rough 19, but I think 20 is going to be really good for Coach Meehan, and let's just hope we'll get through all this coronavirus, and because this thing is this is really. I mean, New York and certain pockets, they're really hit really hard with this thing. It's just it's kind of scary.
Yeah, when you're looking on the news and stuff like that, we're back on the corona topic, of course, but when you're looking on the news and stuff, you really admire the job that our governor has done compared to some of these other states that are out there.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, they're so late acting on this stuff that he's having to tell our Kentuckians not to go into those states because they've still got open like, and if you're a deer, it's hunting season, you get shot, that type of thing. And, Coach Bashir, here's Andy Bashir telling him, go into Tennessee, don't go into these states because, haven't enacted all these, governor's sanctions like we have. And I think it's great that we've done that because if you look at the numbers for Kentucky, our numbers are down compared to a lot of these states because we've done all this stuff. We've acted on all this stuff. We've stayed home and kept people safe and kept the older people safe, So that's what we got to do. We got to do what the governor tells us to do.
Yeah, no doubt.
And your good friend Jackie Coleman.
That's right, Lieutenant Governor. Yeah, I like to call her Coach. I always tell people that, but she was over there at Eastern Kentucky University when we were over there for the All A. Obviously she was over there watching her son play for Frankfurt, the O'Brien kids, and she had tapped me on the shoulder. She said, "Do they let anybody in here?" So I guess they do.
You made a reference to it, something you had that might look like that recorder you had look like a taser. You said, I don't think I'm going to tase the lieutenant governor.
Yeah, that recorder, we had the mic cover off, and it does. You're right, it does look like that, and they were definitely checking that out.
Yeah, those security guys are. Who is it with the governor? I mean, Andy Bashir was over there one day too. He gave a talk to the folks playing and to the crowd. I think it was Sunday he was over there for the championships. Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, he came over there.
I like that guy.
Good talk. Yeah, he's genuine. I like that. He's genuine. And he likes he likes sports too, so he's okay with me. Liking all the sports that he does. I'm not a political person, but
right.
But I do admire the job that he's done.
I do too. I really do. Andy at 5 has become a staple in our household.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what else? What else do we need to talk about that we haven't talked about right now? I know. We talk about the radio thing and what made you want to come over and do the streaming at the time? When you and I met, maybe we should talk about that just for a second. But some people were wondering, why did you go from radio to doing what we do?
Well, I think it was the timing of it because I saw Bridget, when she was commissioner, she always told me that webcasting and web streaming is kind of where it's heading.
Yeah.
For the, I guess you saw that at the national level, the National Federation, with this new NFHS network they have, trying to, do a lot of games and stuff. And that's kind of where it was headed. And I was at VLK till I was doing a talk show on Sundays and then high school games for about 12 years. Coach Meehan worked with me a lot of those years. And Dougie Allen was a color announcer with me for a lot of those years too at VLK. And then I just kind of thought about it, and I said, I think the way to go is to go with the video streaming, because I thought about what if made, would I want to hear them or would I want to watch them? And I thought I want to watch them, and that's what you've done for this thing, William. You've brought it to another level by video streaming it in 1080p, high definition.
Your webcam's slipping down a little bit there.
Oh, okay, that's my camera. Sorry about that.
It's going pan on us.
Duct tape. My duct tape is messing up. Is that better?
Did you get the duct tape from Tate's Creek?
Yeah, from John Dixon. Well,
the whole time we were over there, we asked him every day for duct tape. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Matter of fact, one time he came up to the table and says, "You guys got my duct tape?" And we, yes, sir. Oh, Lord. I've got a little camera on top of this thing. Next time we do another computer that I think's got a camera built into it, so we'll try that one.
Yeah, we'll get you set up when we're able to unquarantine. I'll make sure to make a house visit over there and get you set up.
Yeah, well, you can be our I think it's slipping again, William.
It is. Well, we're almost done. We've been on here for almost an hour now, but.
Okay.
But yeah, I had some people asking about your transition from radio into doing what we do, and you didn't completely give up radio at the beginning. You had a Sunday morning talk show that you kind of just didn't have enough time for it, I guess, and then you still got the Scholastic Ball Report show that's on the CW. Did you end up having to cut that a little short this year because of the virus?
No, not really. I mean, maybe a week or so, but that was about it. We did a show last Sunday, not this past Sunday, but Sunday a week ago. We did a show, and that was kind of the wrap up of the season. Brian Milam did the opening, and then where they used my interviews with Clark County was on. Coach Josh Cook went to the state tournament, or they won the regions, but they didn't get to play in the state. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then we had our comeback athlete of the month on the boys' side, who, by the way, was Caleb Givens from Tate's Creek, was the comeback athlete of the year on the boys' side. So he was a comeback. So we had those, and then we wrapped it up. And then this coming fall, when we start back with this class, it'll be our 18th year. And I know you had the funniest comment on that. What'd you say on squares, SpongeBob something? I don't know.
Yeah, that's like SpongeBob SquarePants years there. Or Brady Bunch, or you name it. Some of those old pilot shows. MASH is a good one. That you can. But yeah, man, you've been on TV longer than SpongeBob was. That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's fun to do. I think anything you enjoy that you're having a lot of fun, as we are doing these high school games, and then this Scholastic Ball Report. I think as long as you enjoy it, then that's how long you do it. When you quit it, when you don't enjoy it anymore, William, I think that's probably time to call it quits. In my opinion, and that's in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, we still got a lot of love for the game, and a lot more broadcasting left to do, my friend.
Yep, I think so. But this has been fun. I know you've done a lot of these over the past couple of weeks, and I think it just brings people, gives them a little bit of comfort. And if they're a high school athlete or a high school parent or a high school coach, cheerleader, whatever they are, they're getting a little bit of comfort of watching William Moorfield talk high school sports. Matter of fact, it's called Talking Sports on the Prep Spin, and I just want to give kudos to all the people. And I know I've watched a few of them. I watched the early on. You had I know you had Sims on. What coach did you have when you were on early on? Who was? Oh, Eddie Brooks.
Eddie Brooks,
I
yeah.
watched almost I watched almost every bit of that show. Eddie's such a baseball guy and such a guru of high school baseball. He's quite a coach.
Yeah, he is. He's a great guy. Great guy. Man, I tell you what, dude, I don't know if I told you this. Well, I'm sure I've told you this plenty of times, but you're definitely one of those guys that I look up to in the industry, and I wish I had a voice like Gary Ball. But man, I'm sure glad to call you my friend and a partner here on the network.
Yeah, ditto. I enjoy working with you. There's a lot of great high school broadcasters in the state, as you know, William. Dan May over there, Mount Sterling, does a job. Scott Thompson, who you've had on. I watched some of Scotty's interview. I think he was doing it from his bedroom, wasn't he? But anyway,
He had those pink headphones on.
yeah, Pink. I need something with this camera. It keeps falling here. We'll get that thing adjusted. But I think high school sports are something that probably we've given credit to it in this state, and you've given credit to it, Coach Mike Meehan, and so we'll continue to do that. And sorry about that camera there, but
No, you're good.
so anyway, I just want to thank you for all you've done for high school sports, and anybody that covers high school sports realizes that William Moorfield's in it for the right reasons. And if they don't realize that, then that's on them. That's not your that's on them. So keep doing it, and I'm sure you'll be doing it long after I'm gone, William.
Well, I'm glad that I'm along for the ride while you're here, though. That's the whole thing, man, and glad that I get to learn from the best.
Well, it's been a joy to work with you. I could say this for me working with you, and I get to do football, basketball, and baseball, and softball, but coach does football, and I think it's we're the lucky ones in this deal. Not we're the lucky ones.
Absolutely, Gary Ball, man. I appreciate your time, and I hope we get to get together again on the field here really soon.
I do too. I hope it's sooner than later because you do a great job, and like I said, Prep Spin is out there for everybody, and if it wasn't for Prep Spin, I mean, what would we be doing in this coronavirus deal? Sitting around waiting for the numbers to go up. But I just think what you've done has been fantastic, and I really appreciate it.
I know a lot of people are watching the replays, listening to you and Coach, and to myself, and hearing and seeing, actually reliving those games. It's kind of like having Netflix there for the high school sports. So at least they got that to hold on to for now until we get back.
Yeah, that's a great deal. Go back and watch any of the games we've done on Prep Spin are archived, and you can watch it. There were some classic games this year in all sports, and I'm sure Tate's Creek folks go back to that baseball tape that I called at the ballpark when they won state champion. Same thing in football. There were some great games this year with Catholic, LC, Frederick Douglass, those teams around the state, and the same thing in basketball. What a great basketball season it was! So watch some of those archive games. We had some tremendous basketball games. So
Yeah.
hope people can find the time during this coronavirus to watch some of those.
All right, Gary Ball, we're gonna get that mount for your webcam.
We
Definitely.
sure are. Yeah.
All right, my friend.
Sorry,
Always
but
good talking to you. I'll holler at you again. I'll message you here in a little while, and man, give you all the feedback we've got.
okay. Thanks, William. It's been fun, and everybody out there, stay safe and stay home.
Absolutely. Wash your hands too. Wash your hands.
Wash your hands right thoroughly. 20 seconds.
All
Thanks,
right.
William.
Thank you, sir. That was Gary Ball, the Scholastic Ball Report. Make sure that when they're filming again, check them out Sundays at noon, but on the CWKYT. But also go back and watch those archives. Gary Ball, the great voice of the legend. You get a chance to listen in to the legend call some games on Prep Spin. So make sure you do that, and we'll see you guys next time. You've been watching Talking Sports here from the BGO Studios. Sponsored by Mingua Beef Jerky, the official game day snack of Prep Spin. Live here again from Nicholasville, Kentucky here tonight, and where Gary was at up in Lexington, Kentucky, making technology work so we can talk a little sports with you guys. So long, everybody.